Yes.
Nader, do you want to kick off?
Sure. Hi guys. Nader Subhan. I'm a Bangladeshi Italian. I've been in entertainment and technology for most of my career. I've founded several startups across multiple regions in Europe, in the Middle East, and in Asia. I spent over 14 years in the Middle East, where I helped build and scale a variety of startups, including Venture Builder, through which I helped raise over $350 million for a variety of companies. I've exited one of those companies selling a streaming service that we sold to Tencent. And I'm very excited to hear everything that you guys have for us. Impact, action, let's go.
All right, I'll keep it short and sweet like Nader. Nader and I go way back. We went to uni together in the Middle Ages, 1998 to 2002. So staying true to 2121's name, I've known him for what, 26 years now. I had introduced 2121 2 weeks ago, so I'll keep it at that. I am actually at a tech conference now, at the Tech EU Summit in London. So I'm stepping out to listen to what you've got for us.
And despite his Arsenal badge, he's a good guy.
Perfect. So, few questions before we begin. But that said, founders, if you do want to pitch today, please raise your hand or put it in the chat so we can get our lineup going. Boz, okay, you're going to be first. Perfect. 3 people already raised their hands. But first question for you guys. Can you share a little bit around your investment thesis? What do you look for? What stage? What sector? And then we'll go into more questions for them.
Do you want to take the second?
Sure. We're as agnostic as it gets in terms of stage, I guess, ticket size, as well, geography, sector. The 10 investments we've done so far range from, blockchain in Mexico, crypto to fiat payments, to tonics and non-alcoholic beverages in the UK, and everything in between. Nader maybe can talk about a couple of the other ones, but we basically, you could bring us a pre-IPO deal for a company that's going in 2 weeks, and we'll look at it. For us, it's all about the number of shares, and the valuation should be making sense. So we particularly like friends and family rounds. Actually, 3 of the 10 deals have been friends and family rounds. So we like getting in early in the action. We're essentially looking for founders founders' ability to maneuver over the next 5 to 10 years to an outcome that could be potentially interesting. We know it won't be what the deck says today, but we're essentially looking for smart people who are willing to hustle for a long time and not take a lot of shit, or take a lot of shit and still hustle.
And just to chime in, entrepreneurship is a pain in the ass. So grit and tenacity is absolutely vital. We know what it takes, and we know that it's like, it is like eating glass. And so what we do like more than anything else are very focused and practical founders. The other thing that we do tend to like is the idea that money can be found. There is a lot of money everywhere. So where can we actually help out beyond that? So a lot of the projects that we have, we've got a wide array of people around the globe. So what can we leverage with our network to actually help you guys out? And I think that's the way we look at it, in terms of what can we get out of it, but also based on what we can put in.
One of the things that is obvious from having sat on in the pitch calls with you guys is that, as you said, like, you do have so much expertise in a variety of different areas to offer the founders. It's like, what's the best way for a founder who's pitching multiple syndicates, or even just angels, to figure out like who's the best fit if they do have multiple offers on the table? How do they figure out who's going to offer the most value?
Maybe, I mean, for example, the most recent investment that we're about to close, it's a drinks company, and I think our global network was of interest to them. I think most of their current investors tend to be in the UK, and I mean, just Nader and myself, for example, we obviously have Italy, Jakarta, Dubai, Amsterdam, Turkey, among many other places, the US, obviously, where we went to school and where our network is. So that is not even our group of, at this point, we're 32 people starting out in Argentina, going through the US, New York, New Jersey, Berlin, Amsterdam, Paris, Istanbul, Dubai, Almaty, Jakarta. I think our global reach is one thing that a lot of people tend to claim, but we actually have people living in those places and have actually built companies in those places. So I think that's something that has been of interest for many of the founders that we've actually invested in, why they're taking our money instead of other people's or together with other people's. Nader?
And also to further support that, what we felt a lot of the times is even if we provide less money, often the smaller ticket sizes from angels can lead to a lot more in terms of follow-up rounds. And I think that's something that's very key. A lot of times we've seen founders that get their raises going well and it gets to their heads where it feels like funding is the destination when it's not. Funding is absolutely not the destination, it's just the starting line, right? So be very practical in terms of personality match, be very practical in terms of goals, and be very practical in terms of kind of vibe and feel and overall outlook. And look, a lot of us, the investors and people around, we're open people. So reach out, check out what we've published or what we've said, look at what we've invested in. All of that is available. So just do your research.
Right. Because we have so many people who want to pitch today, I will make this my last question for you guys. I want to talk a little bit about like personality traits. You mentioned, grit and determination, but in the hour-long call that founders have with you, what sort of things outside of the deck that are like, what are you picking up on? What are you seeing as red flags? What gets you excited and intrigued in the person?
For me, the biggest turnoff is reading. Do not ever read during your pitch if you don't feel passionate enough about what you're doing to actually tell a story around it. Guess what? It's not gonna get anyone's interest. The last thing I personally want to see is sort of eyes on the screen reading. It just, for me, that is the biggest turnoff. Nader?
Oh man, you kind of really hit the nail. I always say, look, the slide is there. I can read just by sight faster than you can say it out loud. So if you're reading it out, I've already read it and I'm just waiting for you to finish. I've stopped thinking. I've just shut down. So tell me a story. Just really tell me what it is. I know that all founders have this halo effect and they really believe in their story. I do want to see some practicality and some flexibility and some reality in there, alongside with the dream. It can't be too much like absolute just small market. Oh, this is really realistic what we can do. And you're like, okay, it's not particularly exciting. And it can't be this, we're gonna take on OpenAI tomorrow. Like, let's be a bit realistic. Show me the pathway, show me your passion, show me the story. And then everything is going to go wrong and you'll still figure out a pathway.
Perfect. Okay, with that.
And one more thing on the deck or on the pitch. In an ideal scenario, well, in most cases, we've actually already got, well, in 99% of the cases, we've gone through the deck. So we've actually read what the deck says. That's why you have the meeting. So we're actually interested in what the deck says. So don't give us what the deck says. Don't give us what the deck doesn't say, right? So in a lot of these cases, I mean, in some of the best pitches I've had, actually the founder didn't actually even pull the deck because they know that we've already digested the deck. If we've done our homework, don't review or ask the investor what they want. Ask them, do you want me to flip pages in the deck or do you just want me to, talk? Right. So I'll stop.
At the same time, though, the flip side is don't underestimate our stupidity, because we may have misunderstood something so fundamental that if it's important to you, go over it anyway. Just make sure we really get what it is that you're trying to do, because we'll assume, and then we'll just keep going and think of it that way. And that's enough. Let's go.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that bit. So Boz, we're gonna have you go first, and then Doug, and then Sam, I see you raise your hand, and since you haven't pitched before, we're gonna have you go third, and then we'll go into the lineup as usual. Oh, your deck is ready to go. Love it. Okay, 3 minutes starting out. Oh, and also
Before
please-
people start, full screen, always full screen for the decks, please.
Okay, full screen. And please remember to put your feedback in the chat, founders, after each person's pitched too. Okay, perfect. All right, starting the timer now.
Hey, hi Ingrid and Nada, great to pitch you today. I'm the founder of Home Energy Foundry. My name is Baz. Let me go into the mission really quickly. We want to make homes really energy efficient. This is done through a combination of insulation, air tightness, usually changes in ventilation and heating systems. This is really great for consumers and homeowners. Your bills become really low. You have a really comfortable home. If you get your bills low enough, you can potentially even have solar on your roof and sell energy to the grid. It's great for society. We avoid really costly grid upgrades. We save a lot of emissions that go into the environment otherwise. And we can divert all the energy that we spend into heating our homes, losing all that heat into something much more productive. The problem is it's really hard for homeowners to do it. They need to either do it themselves and probably get it wrong, or they go to a professional who will give them a really good answer, but is going to be quite expensive. And this depresses the market massively. If any of you are homeowners, you probably haven't retrofitted your building, or if you have, you know how much of a pain it is. There's basically no market of voluntary homeowners retrofitting their buildings apart from a few enthusiasts. And the market for subsidized retrofits is really drawn down by this problem. What we're doing is we're releasing a software called Vulcan. It's for retrofit advisors, so people that work with homeowners and help them retrofit their buildings, and it makes them much faster at their work. The end outcome is that homeowners can go to professionals that are using Vulcan. These professionals can be giving homeowners a much more affordable service and still be maintaining their margins because they are much more productive at their work. The reason we're able to do this now, and no one has done this before, is we're using a new open source UK government-backed model, which will come into force next year for a few compliance purposes. But the code has recently been released, and we are funded by Innovate UK to build on this. So we're one of the first companies building on this. This is really great. It means our competition are focused on software using old models, while we're really focused on what will become the compliance standard in the future. Our go-to-market is really building on this. So we released a newsletter a few weeks ago. It's growing really well. It's got some great metrics. We've got a great team. So I've got a background in BCG home electrification. I built product for a few fintech companies. I actually started a direct-to-consumer retrofit advisory business and qualified as a domestic energy assessor, but that didn't work out, and a lot of the learnings informed Home Energy Foundry. I'm working with Jakob, who's an expert at automating building energy modeling, and Lucy, who's done software in startups and big tech. This is a really big market if fully unlocked. So 15 billion a year is the total cost of retrofitting our buildings spread across a reasonable time horizon of 20 years. If this happens, we need a lot more retrofit advisors in the market. The market today is very constrained. So this looks like a really big jump, but there's a few industry figures that are collaborating this.
We are 20 seconds over, so wrap it up.
I don't have time to go into financials, but I have a big model behind this, and we're raising 200K now.
Beautiful. Okay, feedback.
I'll start. Try not to run out of time to go through financials. I know timing is really tough to figure out. I really like the name, knee-jerk reactions. I really like the name Vulcan. why not call the company Vulcan? Because Home Energy Foundry just sounds like it's going to be an SEO nightmare to actually make it out of Google into anyone's results. Those are my two initial reactions while I think about the rest. Nader, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I think you've got all the parts of the pitch right. I feel that it could be like as you were starting off, I got lost in the intro, because what I like to hear is a lot more directed a problem solution kind of setup. And you've set up kind of the benefits and the advantages, and yes, of course, there is a great opportunity, but if you focus in on exactly what problem you're solving, I think it sets up for everything that you've done a lot more directly. I do agree with Engin. The traction and the financials, put that in. Like, I couldn't even see what that traction was really about. Less is more in terms of number of slides. Just focus in on the real highlights, because when it's such a short pitch, you kind of, your objective should be to get me interested enough to be like, okay, this was 3 minutes. I know we don't have any more time, but I really want to hear you more. So let's have a follow-up conversation. And if you do try and pack in too much, everything gets diluted. I don't feel that same way. So big highlights, big things, get me interested in those 3 minutes so that I want to hear more.
Perfect, thank you.
Slide titles. I would recommend bigger slide titles. So when you turn to a page, I know exactly what you're talking about on that page. Your problem, solution, ask this, that, simple words, single words, big, confidential in the bottom. Everything we talk about is confidential. Confidentiality, to be honest, is bullshit when you're pitching.
Yeah.
So don't make it red. Don't make it pop at me. Just make it small. If you really want it, just put it in a bottom corner somewhere and make it confidential. Those are my other reactions. I like the pitch. I wish I could hear more of the traction and the numbers.
I'd love to share more with you, Engin. So yeah, when we have more than 3 minutes.
Well done.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And thanks for everyone who's leaving good feedback in the chat. Okay, Doug, you are up next, and then Sam, please be ready to go afterwards.
Okay, brilliant. Hi guys, let me just pull up the deck. Engin, I see. I did laugh when I saw you're wearing an Arsenal top. I won't tell you my team this week of all weeks, especially, but our team does have multiple Arsenal fans in it, so there is no bias here with what we're about to share. Perfect.
I was at Old Trafford over the weekend, and I'll be at the Emirates on Sunday.
Okay, well, I was almost at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Wednesday, but I didn't make it in the end. So luckily, I didn't see us get knocked out of the Champions League, but also there is good on it. Guys, brilliant.
By the way, sorry to take a bit of time, but this kind of banter, don't underestimate how important it is. Do your research, check out, see online, see what he likes, and just like it does help. It sounds screwy, but it does help.
Oh, well, good then. Good that we lead with an Arsenal screen as well. And I haven't plastered Tottenham Hotspurs all over this. Guys, I'm Doug, co-founder CEO of Jostle. Jostle is a sports fan engagement platform that's currently in open beta, gearing up for our full launch with the return of Premier League football in August. Sports fans are underserved by the current online landscape. You have social media platforms that have been adopted by sports fans, never built for sports fans, that are full of noise and clickbait, with fans accustomed to thousands of comments on below any post, making it pointless for them to engage or really to add their voice. Beyond that, carbon copy sports, stats and content apps are all non-interactive and non-social, or focus on the voice of the few, albeit experts, rather than giving a voice to the common fan, or allowing fans to explore differing opinions. Sports fans love to share and compare opinions, yet for the majority of fans, there's no way to explore how their opinion stacks up or see quantifiably what true consensus is across the fan base. We think the online landscape is fragmented and stale and presents us a massive opportunity. The Jostle app gamifies the online fan experience to give fans individual team and global fan rankings, comparisons and measurement, structured and rewarded fan debate where every voice is counted, and then true fan versus fan competition. With 3.5 billion passionate sports fans across the world, we're targeting over 400 million users at scale from one scalable tech stack to cover every major global sport and league. Our co-founding team has over 10 years of startup experience behind us. Our CTO previously led a 250 million download game mobile game. And our small development team, further to this, has over 30 years of experience spanning sports, startup, and academia. Importantly, our main development experience all comes from a gaming background rather than normal app building, which is key to delivering a fun and interactive platform, which is a key point of difference against the other apps competing for fans' attention. Our platform follows the weekly journey inherent to all sports fans. Pre-match anticipation through team selections, news, and predictions, live match as a second screen companion app with votes and discussion on key match events as they happen second by second, and the ultimate provision of live stats and insights, and then a post-match breakdown of ratings, analysis, and joint celebration or commiseration. Our fan forum, which is the third point along, this adds to it, giving rewarding top fan commentary and analysis on daily talking points specific to teams or the whole league. And then every touch point is quantified and tracked, which means that we can give fans their own fan profile, which is sort of like a dating profile, but to show off your individual fandom, and feeds into their all-important fan rating, which is sort of like a top trumps card or FIFA foot rating, showing numerically and quantifiably what type of fan you are. Jostle is a freemium app supported by unobtrusive ads, but the big revenue potential comes at scale from the resulting B2B fan data and insights, which we would then sell on.
We are 15 seconds over, so 10 more
Sorry.
seconds.
Okay, I was just going to say, with those data conversations, we've spoken to the FA, and we've got over 110,000 followers of our social content, and yeah, that's us.
Nice. Okay, feedback.
All right. When you were talking about fan commiseration, fans commiserating together.
Shared celebration.
I was thinking of Man U and the YouTube channel, The United Stand, Mike Goodridge. So tell me how an established platform like that, like Arsenal TV, AFTV, or United Stand, could actually work with Jostle.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's
I know this is more of a Q&A, but it really that's the first question that came to my mind that I had to. I think it would be good to have this mentioned.
Yeah, so we want to plug in. The beauty of sports fans already is that they're already nicely set out into communities, and as you say, Mark Goldbridge or AFTV are great examples of that. Now, what we want to do is we want to give them advanced functionality and an advanced way of measuring their own fan bases, because for AFTV to show that they've got a greater fan base than Mark Goldbridge at the moment, they can't do. So that comparative element and driving the competition between their fan bases and then giving them a platform where for their watch-alongs or their podcasts, they can bring in some of our advanced functionality around discussion and quantifying and rewarding the top fans of theirs is where we see a key avenue for sort of some joint growth with some of those platforms. We have spoken to AFTV and we've spoken to Chelsea Fan TV, and as soon as we're in a position feature-wise to bring them in, we've had those preliminary chats about what they like and what they would want, and we feel confident that we can support communities like that.
I probably shouldn't have asked this question, but I like the way the deck flows. I obviously got engaged. You got my juices flowing. So Nader, over to you.
So I've worked on and helped build a couple of community-based projects, and I think a lot of the challenge therein is always kind of the cold start problem and creating the positive feedback loop to gain real traction and network externalities. And even if you do have that at a certain point, it becomes very hard to maintain and create that continuity. Part of what I think threw me off at the beginning was you started off with that sports fans are underserved, but then in that first sheet, you have 500,000 different logos, and I'm like, that doesn't look underserved to me. And I much preferred actually what you wrote, which was it was fragmented. And then, but if you post fragmenting, then is the problem you're solving that it's fragmented and you're unifying it? Or what is the actual killer functionality of your app? What drives me from being just online, checking out YouTube, checking out a 500,000 things that I currently check out for my sports entertainment, engagement, and conversations, to jumping onto Jostle, and why would I be there if my friends aren't there? Do I make more? Like, all of those questions start bubbling up. And as I'm thinking about those questions, I'm kind of like, what are the core steps in terms of go-to-market to create that network and really engender that I don't quite have yet. And whenever you have an open beta, and if you have data that supports the validation of certain parts of your functionality, definitely throw that out, because you can say then you define the problem as X. Your hypothesis was that by providing Y, you'd get a certain amount of traction, and you've proven it by this. You know, that becomes a lot more engaging equation. Or you can even say, I don't know yet, but this is the hypothesis that we have, and that would connect with me a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's, you know, trying to fit it all down into 3 minutes. We've got in our full deck, we've got a full slide on to market and our sort of traction and retention numbers so far. But I think your point on the problem is a really interesting one, because for us it is a unifying the fragmented market, but we feel that because they have to split across all the different groups, they are underserved. But yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. I think fragmented is probably the more direct and thing I should be saying.
Because a lot
Can
of
you
the
go
time,
back?
then
Sorry.
so sorry, again, just one thing, because I think this might apply to a lot of people over here. A lot of pitches that I receive show the competition as doing one thing properly, and they'll come to a competition slide and say, we're the only one that does it all. And every time I look at that, I get turned off, because it's hard enough to get just one thing right. You're not gonna fucking do all of them. Like, just get one thing right. So if unifying it becomes some sort of a connected tissue, great. But if you're saying that you're going to be better at every single functionality than anybody else, that gets me nervous.
No, I think it's more the first part you said, where it's trying to bring in the fact that, you know, if you can bring stats and fan ratings alongside the fan conversation, you have, you know, a product greater than the sum of equals its parts. Rather than at the moment where the conversation happens one place, the stats happens another place, and therefore there's no link in between them. So I think that connected tissue is what we're talking about.
Can you go back to the slide? One last comment. Can you go back to the slide with the numbers? Billions of people, football fans, I think. So I'm sure in the longer version, you actually have more explanations. But anything like this, I mean, you need to explain step by step. I know this is a time issue, but every jump needs to make sense and be explained because $3.2 billion, that's a huge revenue potential. So all the math on this page should really flow through. Otherwise, it just becomes a bunch of big numbers that don't really, that are just out there, you know, in the sky somewhere. So that for the longer version.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you guys very much.
All right, well done. Sam, we will move to you next.
Sorry, my computer's not letting me stop share. Hold on there. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Hello. There we go. Right. Morning, everyone. So let me tell you a story about hope. But before I do, as a show of hands, has anyone here ever suffered from burnout or stress at work? Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people here who have. Me too. So 3 years ago, I was suffering from burnout that I really didn't know where to turn. I'd spent about 10 years in tech consulting, lots of international travel for a Fortune 500, but I felt very lost and was extremely disappointed that there wasn't a better way to manage my stress and performance at work. It took a real toll on my mental and physical health, and I'm not alone. There are very sad and stark statistics around well-being at work. That means we're in the midst of a global pandemic and organizations are not getting the best performance from their people. So this is why I decided to do something about it. And that's where Hope was born. Last year, we launched our therapy booking service, but we knew that we could go further and have a much greater impact. So in 2024, we're now building the next generation of mental health and well-being tools for organizations. For HR leaders and exec teams, Hope will enable the business to reduce burnout and turnover, see key well-being data, as well as integrating with other benefits and HR tools. For employees, a suite of premium wellbeing services will be available to you, allowing you to be the best version of yourself every day. We make money in 3 different ways: from employee access subscriptions per user per month, from each booking made with a healthcare provider, and from a monthly subscription service with our mental health and wellbeing providers. We're currently working with 2 organisations on this next build phase, with a potential 12k MRR available through these 2 launch customers. And here's my wonderful team, who I'm very fortunate to have with me on this journey, with over 60 years in leadership in tech, healthcare, and consumer products, and an advisory board that boasts Johns Hopkins and Stanford alumni, captains of industry in healthcare, tech, and HR across Europe, the US, and EMEA. We're a globally distributed team, so we plan to launch Hope in multiple regions, allowing us to scale our revenue and user adoption quickly. We're now raising 400k and have closed 115 of this already, and are now seeking a lead investor so we can continue building and scaling our impact. And as a bonus to our Hotbed cohort, I'd like to offer everyone here and their teams 12 months access to Hope for free. So if you'd like to help your team or just yourself with your well-being, drop a "yes please, Sam" into the chat. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and I look forward to hearing your questions.
Wonderful. Well done. I'm sure everyone in here has been stressed before, so I think you have a perfect target audience. Okay, over to you boys for feedback.
All right. I really like your revenue model and your traction pages back to back. I love that you start your revenue model page by "we make money" by boom, 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 3 things. I cannot emphasize that enough. Number one thing most investors want to hear is how you're going to make yourself money and hopefully make your investors money. So that was very clearly laid out. Traction following after that. I really like the way the presentation flowed in general. Your team page, there are just too many faces on there. I would split it into 2.
Okay.
I couldn't see, I am looking on a cell phone, but I couldn't see. I mean, I could have zoomed in and looked at them, but there's just a lot to digest there.
Yeah.
Advisors saying 100+ years, don't say that, because if you put 5 more faces there, it's going to be 150 years. That I've
I know what you're saying. It sounds really old.
Just avoid that.
Yeah.
Well, if it's not just that. If it's 2 people, it's going to be 30 years. If it's 5 people, it's going to be 100 years. So they're just, their experience.
Do you know the irony? Do you know the irony, Engin, as well? The irony, Engin, is I had that split and two pages, and then an investor said to me, "Oh, put it on one slide for me." I'm like, "Okay, fine."
I mean,
I hear what you're saying. There's actually,
I could argue for both.
I've got a longer version of the deck actually with better descriptions of everyone. So that,
I think what's important here to understand the objective of the team slide. The objective of the team slide is not to show that you've got a lot of people. The objective of the team slide is show why you're the right team for it.
Right.
And if I see a whole bunch of faces, I don't know anything. I get nothing out of it. 200 years of experience split into 20 people. It doesn't say anything. If you've got 3 faces,
all Nader and I are thinking is, what percentage advisory shares did he give to these guys? That's all we're thinking.
Yeah, well, you're lucky because at the moment
you've handed out too much equity.
That's good. That's a good question. They don't have equity in that sense. Some of them got equity as investors, but not.
Then they're not incentivized. That's the problem. That's the catch-22. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, we're getting into content again. But when you show those faces, I know when you have more time, you really need to explain what you are doing for these people and what these people are doing for you. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of faces with adding no extra weight and just, becoming the focus. Like, just one thing, like if you have one thorn in the deck, it just becomes our main talking point, right?
It's really interesting.
Instead 100+ years, you just get, I mean, that's how memory works, right? That's what I've retained, I mean, among other things from that presentation, is that 100+ years.
All right, cool. Noted. Thank you.
Nader, you got more?
Yeah, so I'll start in one way and I'll also correct myself in another. So first off, I loved the cohesiveness of the tone of voice with what you're presenting. It was calm, it was collected, It gave me hope as you were going through it. It was organized. It was well paced. Really, really loved that. And yet, when we got into the question part, I feel that you're trying to answer too much. You don't need to. Let the investor say what it is. You don't need to answer everything that he says immediately. Let him speak. Let him say what he wants to say, even if he's completely wrong, and then jump in and answer what you think. And sometimes you don't need to answer. You'd be like, okay, no, good point. We'll adjust accordingly. I agree with Engin wholeheartedly. At an early stage, and especially in an intro one, what I really want to know about is you, because I'm investing in you more than anything else. I mean, of course, you've built a lot, you've got a team, you've done so much, and you want to show it. But I want to know the team who's going to do this for me, for you, and who's really going to get this across. So what people are doing and why they're stars in making sure that you're the right person to catch this opportunity, I think is really quite key. That's why we're so focused on this team slide, because what I want to know is, I don't know what these names mean. I just really want to know what is the skill set, that one secret sauce that each one of brings for their role. Marketing, why are they the genius marketer? Why is that? Why are you the perfect team to do this? That's what the team slide. Advisors, sure, they all believe in you, and that's what Engin said is fine. But on the whole, like, you hit the nail on the head on all the sections. Really liked it.
Well
One
done.
more thing, the team slide. I've had companies that we've previously invested in that are raising their next rounds, where we have pulled the team slide up to number 2 or number 3. The team can come in much earlier. If you're extremely experienced in what you're doing, then you can really lead with that. Is we are the right team to be solving this problem before revenue model, before traction, before this, before that.
Okay. Well done. We're gonna move on. Keely, I don't believe you've pitched before, so we're actually gonna have you go next. And also, I really hate saying this sort of thing, but we haven't had any women go, so if there are any female founders in here, please raise your hand.
And then
okay.
we get blamed for not funding women.
Yeah, raise your hands if you want to pitch.
So I pitched already, just in case someone else hasn't.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, then we're gonna keep going in chronological order. So Harry, you will go next.
Okay, thanks guys. Just let me bring the deck up very quickly.
If you can lower the hand, it really catches my eyes. The hand is still up, it looks like. If not, don't worry about it.
Okay, I'm actually going to do ours without the deck. Appreciate you haven't seen it before, but bear with me. So when I moved to London 8 years ago, one of my biggest passions growing up was motorbiking, and I decided to try and find some friends to motorbike with. It turned out that was an incredibly difficult thing to do. I got some pretty shitty comments from people when I put myself out there. And since then, I've actually had that experience repeated for a number of hobbies. I've had it repeated for surfing, for motorbiking, for photography, for mountain biking. Finding friends to do your hobbies with is really, really difficult. It's for reasons like that loneliness is now an epidemic, and we thought that needed solving. So what my co-founder and I have done is we have created Buddy. The reason I found that so difficult is, I'll go through some of the key competitors. Firstly, Meetup. Meetup is based on sort of infrequent events that rely on you being comfortable traveling across London and meeting in groups. They're not reliant on one-to-one interaction. Facebook groups are fantastic for things like shared knowledge and buying and selling. But again, they don't, they're not truly local and they aren't geared towards one-to-one interaction. What we are seeing in the social discovery space is other apps. So for example, Bumble BFF, but they have brands that are based on dating that really don't cater to a huge market. And also, the only thing you have in common when you're on those apps is being on the app itself. So we've created Buddy. Like or dislike dating apps, they're fantastic at one thing, and that is connecting people online. So on Buddy, you would create a profile. You list your hobbies, of which there are about 200 to choose from. It's really broad. It's not just sports. You can set your search parameters, so distance, age criteria, and then you can swipe through profiles of people who share your hobbies, and then you can meet in real life to go and do the things that you love together. We're live. We launched on the app stores officially in January. Since then, we have over 800 users, and we have about 10 to 15 signups a day. And most importantly, people love the app, and we have a huge amount of success stories already. We have people who have gone on surfing weekends together, gone on hiking trips to Wales together. There are people who've had badminton matches in London. It's working already, and people are loving what we're doing. The social discovery space, quoting the Match.com CEO, is set to be about a $16 billion industry, and it's an industry that creates billion-dollar companies. Social discovery relative to the dating app market is really in its infancy at the moment.
Hey, Harry,
It's a forming wave.
we're at time, so 10 more seconds.
Sure. We're going to make money through a monthly subscription model of $5.99, and we're raising 400K to get to 50,000 users and 100K MRR.
Beautiful feedback. And sorry, before we move into feedback, Ivo, I don't think we've had you pitch before. I just realized, so we'll have you go next. Engin, Nader, over to you.
Nader, go ahead.
So it's a bold choice to present without a deck, and it can work. But when you're presenting without a deck, what you really want to do is get simple points across very boldly so that I can remember. As soon as you start getting into roundabout explanations or spend too much time listing things, I shut off. And I think most people shut off. You just kind of lose that, you lose attention. And there's a reason why you've got the 30-second, you've got the elevator pitch. You just want to really hit them hard on what it is that you're doing and why it's exciting and who is it for, and then flesh it out with kind of why you're the right person at the right time, what you've achieved, and also it works. People use it. It sounds like, trust me, bro. Like, yeah, it's cool. We got people like that. That doesn't fly. You've got to tell me numbers. You got to tell me traction. You got to tell me what's happening, because otherwise it just feels, especially when you're pitching with that deck, it feels too fluffy. If you had come up with 30 seconds of intense story, you start off well with like, what was the pain point that you felt, but then you got lost into the competitive things, and I'm thinking, oh well, no, actually there are competitors, and wait, what is it that he's doing again? What is this specific thing that he's doing again? Oh no, now he's going on surfing trips. Wait, what are we doing? It works. Wait, what works? I couldn't quite put my finger. Get the story, get really down to the core of what you're trying to solve and why you're the right person, so that at the end of the elevator ride, stop the elevator, talk 2 minutes more, and be like, okay, let's have a follow-up. Send me something in the meantime so I can really dig deeper into exactly what you're doing. But right now it just feels a little bit all over the place.
I think pitching without a deck works if the deck has been seen by the by whoever's being pitched to ahead of time. I don't even know how Buddy is spelt, so I couldn't even go find it. If it's Buddy, of course I could go and find it, but you haven't even left me with the logo or the brand name. So if this was a tech conference and we were having a conversation, that's fine. You could just either open up your cell phone, show it to me, but there needs to be a visual for me to retain in my memory, other than just your face and the green shirt that you're wearing and the scenery behind you. So none of those are relevant to if an investor being able to fund you. I was taking notes just so you have an idea of what stuck with me: motorbike, mountain bike photography, loneliness, Buddy, meetup, Facebook groups, social something, Bumble BFF, hobbies, 200. So 800 plus users. Like, I have no idea. You said 10 to 15 signups a day. I have no idea about active users, what those 800 people have done. You gave 3 examples of things that happen is that 3 out of 800, you could have said, let's say 200 meetups or 200 events that these 800 people went on. Like your traction sounds very loose, like Nader said. So I don't know if 800 is a good number from January until now. Did you spend any marketing dollars on it? How did you get these 800? So if you're talking about traction, you need to talk about what you invested to get what. So we have an idea of if you get the 400 that you're raising, what you could do with it and what that could result in terms of user and increased traction. That was my general feel. $16 billion industry. What is that industry? There are $1 billion companies in the space. Who are they? Name them, what they do, why you're different from them. All this stuff. That was I'll stop there. If you want to go light on the deck, I mean, I've pitched recently 2121 at an event, and I had 4 slides. You could literally have 1 or 2 slides, literally put your 5 or 6 numbers on there, and then talk about that. But visually, for me to retain more of your pitch, there needs to be a visual element. That's if I haven't seen the deck.
Put the logo on
Yeah,
your
look,
hoodie.
guys, so that's totally fair feedback. I do have a deck. For some reason, Zoom's not letting me share it, so I thought I'd practice the elevator pitch. That wasn't
Sorry,
on purpose.
I missed that.
Same.
Sorry,
no,
Nader, did you catch that? I didn't know that.
You didn't
catch
miss
that
it. I
either.
didn't say it. That was just a bit
Sorry
of a
about
last
that.
minute panic.
No
Let's
worries.
let's try
Then
something
well
different.
done. That was unfortunate.
But
Well done,
you're
given the
absolutely right in the
circumstances.
feedback. Appreciate it.
Can you send me
look-
your deck? I'm curious to see the deck now.
Well, then maybe it's worked then. Yeah.
And look, this is exactly the kind of shit that happens all the fucking time. Your demo is gonna blow up in your face. The deck's not gonna work. You're gonna suddenly open up and it's the old version. Like all of these things are gonna happen. So well done for quick thinking. I've got my 3 minutes. I'm gonna go for it. Well done.
And not
that's what
even
we
making us realize that there was a screw up. So that was well managed.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was planned all along. See, now I'm going to send you my deck again.
No one better
There you
try
go.
that in the future.
Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
we're tight on time, so we're gonna quickly move on. Ivo, you're next.
Fabulous. Let me just lower my hand. All right.
Thank you.
Share my screen. Can people see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Fabulous. So my name is Evelyn. Actually, we're developing your AI sales training partner. So we're going to take a little bit of a risk at the beginning here. I'm going to try playing some video, so it's not that risky. Okay.
This is Zoe.
Let me go back.
This is Zoe Rodriguez.
Hey Zoe, it's Evelyn calling from Salesforce. Would you happen to have a moment?
Oh, Evelyn.
So I wanted to share a couple of ways in which companies benefit from moving towards a platform like Salesforce.
We're currently using HubSpot. What makes you think Salesforce would be a better fit for us?
I'm going to stop the video here. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're building. So actually, I've always been an engineer myself, but in the last 5 years, I ventured into sales, and it took me a long time. And it seemed to be taking a long time for anybody who was joining my team, and I was a manager at the end, to become decent. And it turned out that a lot of sales training wasn't working for anybody. I'm quickly going to walk through an example. If you were to start a new sales role today, and we're going to meet Morgan, that is starting one, what does that look like? So she would go to multiple 1-hour kind of workshops. There will be absolutely no practice. She'll start working with clients, and every now and again, she'll get some feedback from her managers. This ends up taking, on average, 11 months from the point that somebody starts to the point where they become fully productive. The way we imagine how people are going to train in the very near future is that they're going to be consuming short pieces of content. So much like they're consuming TikTok today, they're going to be practicing each and everything that they're learning, and then they're going to be getting feedback each and every time. So similar to how actors spend so much time practicing, similar to how sports people spend so much time practicing, we're going to have salespeople practicing. So today we have built the platform where you can practice, you can get instantaneous feedback. We have over 1,500 users as of now. We spent $0 on marketing. Actually, it's all been organic or one partnership with a newsletter, which didn't cost us any money. And we have people coming back to the platform without putting any new content. The way we're planning to charge is businesses at $47 per seat per month, which is kind of mid-range in the space. And at the moment, I'm kind of like leading the team. So founder, we have 2 advisors who have experience both from like large companies and also high growth startups, which seem to be we have the most traction with in terms of others. So this slide is going to be the opposite, I think, of what we spoke a little bit earlier. We're not aiming to try to do everything. Actually, in the sales technology space, there's a lot of consolidation now. A lot of companies are trying to do many different things. We really focused on getting the practice, the feedback part really, really well. And that's such a hard problem. You really need to be singly focused on it. The market is absolutely huge. We're planning to go in a very bottom-up motion. As at the moment, we know for every 100 people that come to our website, 2 or 3 of them.
We're at 3 minutes.
Fabulous. Okay, I'll end here.
If you want to add one or two more sentences to wrap it up, that's okay, or we can go to feedback.
No, I mean, I think I kind of shared most of what I wanted to share.
Perfect. Okay.
I like that. I think you did I have a feeling you did a good job taking some of our earlier commentary maybe and working that into the pitch, which is very smart. 11.2 months. When I hear a number like that is so specific, you should probably asterisk it, and so I can go to the footnotes and know what it's based on. It's anything that basically hurts the flow for me. When you throw numbers, I want to know exactly where they came from. And you didn't say 11 months, you didn't say 12 months, you said 11.2 months. Just any number that's in there, I know you know the answer, but you could probably footnote it and get it out there. I like that you have 1,500 users. I like that you put it on a graph. I'd like to, when I had more time, look at the graph, see where it spiked, why it spiked. I think that may be a good explanation. $47 makes me ask, why not 45? Why not 50? Why not 49? A good old prime number. No, it's not 7 by 7. So it just got me thinking, why 47? So, you know, again, back to the flow. It just, for me, I just stayed with 47 while you moved on in the presentation. So for me, it was a thorn that just, my mind just stayed there while you moved on. I'll shut up now.
It's funny, I maybe we've been together for too long, but I had exactly that thorn snagging my thing, and I'm just like now following that thread. 11.2 just distracted me. It's really weird, and I knew it would have distracted you too. Aside from that, I'm very interested because it makes me ask bigger questions as to where your company could go. It makes me ask questions such as, okay, this is interesting. Have I seen that in usage? I've seen similar companies. Some parts of it work, some parts of it doesn't, but they seem to know what they're doing. Can they create some sort of specific training based on data lakes that are provided by the companies themselves? Because certain sales can be really quite specific. And are you providing just general? Like, all of these questions now bubble up, and those are good questions because that means I'm going to have a follow-up call, because it could be a great opportunity for me. So well done for piquing interest. Yeah, I think overall, the video part, I think I just want to understand why you showed it, because if it's just to show that it's real, that you've got something going, okay. But beyond that, it didn't really do that much for me.
I'm happy
flow.
to share. And I think that there's 2 parts. Hopefully they'll be useful to the others. My thought train was like, we only have 2 minutes. There's 10 more people doing it before me. How can we break the pattern of what everybody else has been doing? So
That was
nobody.
great. Okay, no, that's fine. Cool. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Okay, I want to use the last remaining minute. First of all, for those of you whose hands are raised and who didn't pitch today, we've taken down your names and we'll prioritize you next week with nodes. But I want to make the most of our last probably like 30 seconds with you both. And Mark asked a really good question in the chat. He said, the pitch lasts for 3 minutes, which is a short amount of time to fit in a lot. What do you both feel we should leave out rather than what should be included?
I'm thinking about that.
I'll
Now, there
answer
any
for
ideas?
Yeah, I'll answer for myself. And it's the most unsatisfying answer. It depends on the subject, and it depends on the company, because it's more about the story and will I remember it? Because in 3 minutes, what I need to get across, what I want, if I was pitching, what I would get across is that I want that person to talk to their fellow investor and be like, you know what I came across today? I came across a company that does X with a founder that's such a badass because he's done Y. And I think they're going to win because they're approaching it in this kind of way. Those 3 things, if I can spend a minute on each one of those things, it doesn't matter how many slides. I mean, of course, if you don't want 300 slides for these 3 minutes, but just enough slides, just enough content to make sure that I get these 3 main points across, it will stick with them. It will stick with me, and I will speak to Engin. I'll speak to the rest of the consortium, and I can simply get those 3 points across. Then I'll definitely have a follow-up call. What is the problem that they're solving? You know, how are they solving it? And you know, what's unique about this founder that can really do it? Like, I want that, and that wrapped in a story that I can retell. That to me would be key. So bits and pieces could change. Like, you're weak on traction, don't show traction. Give me the overall story. If you're strong on traction, then start with traction and team. You know, so that's why it changes a little bit depending on the things. But you want the objective rather than, you know, putting the cart before the horse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think following up, sort of adding to that, what you want to be, especially, you know, most events where you're pitching, you're probably not going to be the only one pitching. Like, there's a startup stage here, it'll be back to back to back to back. You want to be memorable. You want your slides to be memorable, at least 1 or 2 things to be memorable. You want yourself to be memorable. One of my older hotbed videos, I was wearing Iron Maiden shirt. I happened to be wearing it that day, but people from that cohort might remember me as the Iron Maiden guy. Today, you may remember me as the Arsenal guy. I wear this to conferences because people respond to it. They may hate it, they may love it, they may not fucking care for it, but they'll come and talk to me. So try to be memorable. Try to make what you do, what you're pitching, memorable, and design your slides around that. I mean, I'm not saying be gimmicky. I'm not saying have hooks, but I mean, hooks work for a reason, right? They make you more memorable. Make your slides so you're the one that Nader and I talk about afterwards. Make your pitch memorable so we reach out to you and say, send me what you got. I really want to see what your longer deck looks like.
And don't be afraid to talk about yourself, like, really, because we're investing in you.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, to be very blunt, I don't think anyone, I know 3 minutes is extremely short, but I don't think anyone did it today. I know nothing about any of you. Like, I don't know if you played football. I mean, I know you did sales. I remember the BCG logo from one of the decks, but, you know, throw it out there. Don't be afraid. It's you that people are going to be investing in. As I said, business will change. The deck, you've probably seen this, the original Uber deck, Airbnb deck, this and that. They're nothing like what they're today, right? So the business will change, the deck will change. It's you that's not, you'll change too, but hopefully less than the deck. Hopefully.
All right, we will end it there. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today. Again, we will not be posting this on YouTube just to keep everyone's pitch private, but founders, this recording will be available for you guys privately afterwards. Wave goodbye to Engin and Nader. Oh, actually, first, before you go, Engin, I know you've already put your email in the chat, but shall we share everyone's LinkedIn with you guys?
Oh yeah,
that
sure.
Cool. Okay.
On the email, since you still have 2 more weeks to go, unless you're running out of cash in the next 2 weeks, you should probably wait on sending the decks just so you can take in the feedbacks from the next 2 weeks, perfect your deck, and then send it over. It's all about doing your homework so we can do our homework. I always say that. That's why we never get on calls before we see decks. You need to show us that you've done your homework with the deck so we can actually give you half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, to talk about it. That sounds it is what it is, but that is how it is.
Yeah, that's really useful. Okay, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. And founders, stick around because we have Jeremy from Zendesk with us for our next session. Wave goodbye to Nader and Engin. Thanks, guys.